Hi, welcome back to the GYG podcast. I'm Jeevan, I'm a GYG Young Media reporter, and today I'll be speaking to two university students about their experiences with coronavirus and the lockdown and how that's affected their studies. So, hi guys, thanks for joining me. Do you want to introduce yourselves?
Okay.
I'll go first.
You go first.
I'm Jeevan Kennedy, I'm 22, and I'm in my third year studying marine and freshwater biology at Aberystwyth University.
Hi, I'm Ilona. I'm a costume design student and I study at the Northern School of Art up in the northeast of England. I'm also an international student.
Cool. So, bit of a general question. Do you just want to give us an idea of how coronavirus and the shutdown of universities has affected your life in terms of studying and housing and maybe social aspects and stuff like that?
I mean, that's a loaded question. I have a lot of things. In terms of studying, I've basically, my mom had to come in the ferry to come collect me, and then I just threw in every bit of sewing equipment that I had on my material for my final project. And I've just been having to work away at uni, but yeah, my studying wise, it's just the communication between tutors is not the same. I can't just like run up and find them and ask a question. I don't really know what I'm working towards. It doesn't feel the same. But yeah.
Me, obviously it's forced me to move home as well a bit early. So my mum, again, she came and collected me and brought me home. Well, I guess I'm slightly luckier in that all of my work is done on my computer. So, but again, it's much harder to contact my tutor when writing my dissertation, and all of my course has summer examinations, and all of those have been cancelled with no known replacements yet. So I don't know what I'm doing for my examinations.
Oh, well, that's fun. So do you guys roughly know what the process will be for your assessment, how you're going to get your final grades for your subjects?
For me, there's nothing 100%. So usually you hand in a costume. You can see one in the background here, and then you would hand in like a technical file, and then you would hand in digitally. You'd hand in like a research file, which just has so much and like kind of all your inspirations, and then you'd also have hand in a sketchbook. But because the university isn't open and not everyone can come in and drop off their stuff, they've just made everything has to be digital now, which means that you have to take all the time to process this, add it on to like how much it's going to take you to put all of it and make it into a file, because we have done all our design work and a lot of all our technical files like physically, and then we have to digitize them, and it's a bit of a faff. And then on top of that, like they said in the email that camera quality won't affect anything, but we all know that's a lie, because nicer images are just going to look better. You can't help that. So it's just like having to make sure you have the best camera quality, make sure it looks nice. But equally, a lot of people can't actually make what they want to do because we don't have access to specialist facilities or equipment. So for me, I had to buy a bunch of my own corsetry stuff otherwise I would have used borrowed the uni's stuff, which is expensive. I didn't think of that. But if not everyone has that at home, and also if they waited too long and the shops had closed already, they couldn't buy it in anyways. So that means that they're physically unable to make something. So they've been asked to just draw something, like do a really detailed drawing, and then explain what they wanted to do. But with all these considerations and ways around it, so you can actually still be graded and make work. It's unfair in the assessment at that point. Like, how is it if I make 2 costumes, make everything to myself, and then I'm being graded on like an even playing field as someone who was unable to do stuff and then is only submitting drawings in replacement for their making? You know what I mean? So I think I get it, but equally I don't think it's necessarily I don't know how you can bring in like fairness into it.
What about you, Simran? How are you being assessed?
Well, So the biggest thing at the moment for me would be my dissertation, which, in terms of how it's actually assessed, hasn't really changed at all. It's more, I still have to hand it in on the same date, and it'll still consist of the same stuff because it's all on my computer and it's all to do with research that I've already done. But yeah, there's been a change in setting. So instead of what I'd usually do, being working in the library, I now have to work at home and find the motivation to work from home. And then the other big thing for me would be exams. So I don't know how it's going to work, but we'll have some sort of maybe like a replacement essays to do at home instead of exams, and then those will be handed in and counted up. But yeah, I'm not exactly sure how exams are going to work.
Well, as you've both mentioned that you're now working from home, are you guys struggling to be motivated to work at home, or are you finding it easier?
I think it's a mixed bag. I'm back home where I get regular meal times and don't have to do too much of the actual annoying adult stuff, and I could just focus on my work. So it gives me more time, but then equally, I don't know, I'm not at my best. I'm not, working as hard as I want to. I had bad news that my degree show was cancelled, so everything I've been working to for 3 years shut down. Don't even know if I'm going to have a graduation ceremony. So my motivation's is kind of like low in that regard, and I'm just a bit sad. So my work isn't that great. And we only got 2 weeks extension, but I think we probably should have gotten at least 3 or 4. Just the other disruption and the fact that you have to digitize and do stuff.
Actually find the motivation to work in the first place. Yeah. I mean, for me, it's very strange because what my usual strategy is I separate a workspace from a living space. So I live back in Aberystwyth at university. I live in my flat, and then I go to the university library, and that would be my workspace. So whenever I went to the library, that's just like my head's in the same space, and I just go there and I just work for like 6-8 hours on end. Whereas at home, I'm constantly in the frame of mind of I'm at home, it's time to relax. So it's very difficult to actually give myself the motivation to properly work and put the time into writing my dissertation.
I agree with that. I have that issue as well. But I also have that, it's kind of related as well, is that because I have my workspace and my living space are intertwined, if I'm not working or actively trying to get my projects done, I feel so much guilt, which again isn't helping my mental health. But then equally, I'm not giving myself time off to actually to chill a bit and make sure that I'm in a better frame of mind to do something, just constant. And then I get up, have breakfast, go to this studio, and then work, have lunch, go back upstairs, have dinner, go to bed, wake up, repeat. And I don't even have weekends in the same way anyways. And I don't have the friends or the social aspects of uni to break it up and have a bit of a chat with people, or even just talk to other people about their other projects, because I think that those actually that's points of inspiration. Like you can look at things where you can kind of collaborate in terms of like small pieces of the costume. I really do miss that.
Yeah, well, I find that as an English student and a history student, it is really helpful to have other people in the classroom with you in that environment to get you in that mindset of this is the time to work now, and then you bounce ideas off each other and you help each other out with difficult spots. It is really tough, isn't it, to just be completely disrupted and taken out of an environment that you're used to. I'm taking it from you two that there's the feeling that this isn't a fair way to assess final year degree students.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say that. Even just going back to mental health and stuff, working on my dissertation isn't great for my mental health because I'd end up spending all of my days sat on my bed working on my computer. And then for my mental health, I don't want to do that. I want to go outside and keep active. not like into the garden and do some gardening work or something like that. I want to keep relatively, active some portion of the day. I don't want to just sit around.
Mm.
Yeah. No, I'm lucky that I have dogs, and you're allowed to walk dogs in Holland. It's slightly different way of social distancing. They call it intelligent social distancing. I'm not sure how well that's working, but I can go outside a bit more liberally than the UK at the moment. But yeah, no, I am of the opinion that they should have seen it early and just frozen all degrees and then come back to it after it was closed. I think that's what they should have done, because I don't think anyone's work is 100% at all. I have like
Sorry.
you just you call your friends occasionally on FaceTime when you're like really bored or you see they're active, and then you just start talking. It gets a bit depressing, and then one person's crying or has had a meltdown. It's not great. Bear in mind, there was always going to be meltdowns and crying because this final year and final major project is notorious for just being a
and then the added pressure of a global pandemic.
And
yeah, even without this, it would be super stressful.
Yeah, you're worried about your grandparents. I mean, I know for me, but all grandparents have something wrong with them, which makes them high risk.
Oh no.
My parents, mom has asthma, my dad has hypertension, which is the medication to solve that supposedly makes them more susceptible to the virus. So there's all, I don't know. There's just like that slight worry. I don't suspect, I think it's going to happen, but.
So we've touched a bit on staying motivated and mental health. What are you guys doing during lockdown? You've mentioned that you're still working, but being inside, how are you trying to stay positive and stay, in a healthy mindset and in a healthy place with your body and stuff?
I think for me, the biggest thing I can do is not stay in my room like 24/7. The biggest thing for me is kind of routinely getting up at the same time. So I get up at roughly 9 o'clock every day. I listen to music, and then I go out and I do something, whether that's just going downstairs and having breakfast or planning my day out a bit, going into the garden just to read for a bit, like something to get me out of my room for like half an hour every morning. I find really helps.
I mean, I do exercise wise, I'm just walking my dog. I've not been working out for a year at all. Really, it's been generally quite bad. It's just distraction measures at this point. I have so I have an iPhone, and your iPhone has started doing this thing where it like tells you if your screen time has been up and how much you've been on social media, and every week it's just gone up by an alarming percentage.
Oh no.
It's pretty bad. I've still managed to not download TikTok yet though, so I'm taking that as a personal best.
I fell for the trap. Don't do it. You'll never get your life back.
I know. That's what kind of what I got from it. But yeah, it's just distraction, trying to do work, and then that.
Yeah. So it's difficult, isn't it? Yeah. Especially like with the whole stress and uncertainty of the situation that we're in now. I mean, loads of people are finding it really difficult to stay positive at the moment. Have you guys got any tips and tricks on how you're staying positive, or are you just like doing what you can?
I just distractions. That's literally all I was doing. I don't think to stay positive. I don't know what to do reasonably to stay positive. I just make sure you keep yourself mildly happy by distracting yourself and being reasonably productive. That's for me when it's worked out. But I always get a bit of an adrenaline rush when I finish something. Like I've been doing pockets for the last week, which weren't going very well. It would have taken longer had I not taken off 2 days to be a bit of a depressive individual about the degree show not happening. But yeah, then I always feel quite happy. Like I have pocket samples, and it was worked out, so I'm like, oh yeah, and I could finally put it on. But, so I always get like little. That's that's not just for now. It's just kind of like small little tasks. I guess that is the way you can use small little tasks. But everyone will tell you that like manageable small portions of a task and then checking it off is always usually good.
What
I
about
think
you, Simon? Oh, sorry. I just
I,
sorry.
I think you're the same way, Simon, right?
Yeah, more or less. It's just, I think keeping yourself positive and motivated is something that is, it's a very individual thing. And I think most people, it'll be kind of down to them to kind of find what motivates them. So my recommendation would be just to try as many different things as you can, like whether it is keeping to a routine, just getting out of bed, and just finding something that works for you. But I'd also say just count your small victories. Even if it's just, I got out of bed and I went for a walk for half an hour. That's a small victory. Like, don't discount it.
Yeah, to be honest, that's all you can do. Like, I've seen a lot, we've been talking about this a little bit on some other episodes, that there's this whole productive culture, I want to say. I don't really know if there's a word for it on social media, where people are saying, if you don't read millions of books during lockdown, you're a failure. And if you don't like bake like Mary Berry by the end of this, and if you can't paint paintings really well, if you haven't painted the Sistine Chapel by the end of this, then you're a useless human being. I think it's really important to remember that this is a difficult time for everyone, and you know, we're doing the best, everyone's doing the best they can, to be honest, and like, well done for you guys for, you know, getting through it as best you can. So what are your guys' plans for next year, and has coronavirus affected it in any way, like with internships or jobs maybe, or further education?
I was supposed to be applying for jobs, but currently I was going to go to the film and TV industry and hopefully become like a costume daily or just a wardrobe trainee or something like that. But there's no productions running at all. You're not even able to, like, you know, send your CV in hopes because no one actually knows what's happening. So I can't get a job at the moment, I don't think. I mean, it might be easier once this whole thing goes through, but I don't know. Yeah, so I don't know what I'm doing next year. I don't even know if I'll have a degree, so we'll see how that works out.
Oh, no.
It's going to be fun either way.
Yeah, exactly.
Be something to find out. Yeah, for me, oh jeez, like, so I don't want to get a job next year. I actually want to go into further education. I want to get a master's. I want to get onto a master's course by research. And I've been looking around for like months, and I found this course in a relatively local university in Canterbury Christchurch. But I have no idea what's going on with them. Basically, all plans for going on a master's have just been put on hold because I can't speak to any potential supervisors because they're all way too busy trying to sort out their own current students with lockdown. And I need to talk to potential supervisors because I can't apply to a research course without a research idea that I need to talk with and get approved by a potential supervisor. So I'm moving on to a backup plan of join the police for a year as a dispatcher slash 999, whoever answers the phone. I can't remember what the name is. Call center operative. I think that's it.
Oh,
yeah, work for there from here if they want me.
I'm sure
and
they
then
will.
apply for a master's next year if we're not all still in lockdown, because coronavirus is going to take at least 2 years to get through.
Oh,
Yeah,
let's not think about that.
The master's opportunity. I'm notoriously awful at writing and hate it with such a passion, and so the idea of writing another dissertation really is not sitting well.
The course I'm looking at, it isn't write another dissertation that's about 8,000 words. Oh no, it's write a thesis which is 20,000 words long.
Oh, I mean, my dissertation was only like 6,000 words this year. But
I'm struggling to write 6,000 words. Jesus.
Like, I don't really need one for I don't really need it for what I want to do. I could maybe do a master's if I was like really interested in it. But that's not what I want at the moment. But I am looking at it more favorably because I don't know, maybe have a more traditional end to university life. You know, going down the postgrad year, not have it randomly usurped.
I mean, the reason I'm looking at masters is because I want to use it as like a springboard to get onto a PhD. I think if I have a master's, I'll be way more likely to actually get a PhD when it comes to it.
That's another thesis, by the way. So
Yeah, I know. Two theses, one dissertation.
woo.
I'm going to do a lot
Oh,
of
that
writing.
sounds fun. Well, good luck to you both for your future endeavours. Wishing you all the best for that. Let's hope coronavirus doesn't last 2 years. Because I'm meant to go to uni in September, so please coronavirus. So just gonna finish off on a more general question. Are you guys worried about coronavirus? What is your take on the whole situation? The big question.
It is a big question. Do I think that am I affected? I don't know. I think generally it's exposing a lot of problems with capitalism, and everyone's going down the more socialist route. People are, I don't know. It's exposing some, problematic celebrities. Vanessa Hudgens.
Oh my god.
What's she been saying?
Oh, she pretty much is like coronavirus, so sure some people are gonna die, and then she just got totally ripped apart on the internet for it. She decided, I don't know.
She got sick because
I
Coachella was
think
cancelled.
in
She's
the
like,
UK,
people are gonna die, which is inevitable. And I was like,
I mean, sure, everyone's thinking it, but it's just the tone that she said it was not the right way to do it. Not on Instagram Live was not great. I mean, it's definitely showing holes in the NHS, and all the underfunding that's been happening there. But I mean, I swear there was like a bunch of like NHS, like not from the actual NHS, but just NHS doctors had made their own kind of like viral campaign, like if you like the NHS, vote for like don't vote for the Tories, and they voted for the Tories in the last election.
Overwhelmingly.
Yeah, and that's the government we're landed with during this pandemic, and lo and behold, yeah.
But to be fair to them, most governments have been responding to this with a really, really crappy response.
well, it's an unprecedented situation. I mean, as much as my opinion on the Conservative Party is quite negative, no one could have prepared for this, really. It's just, yeah.
I mean, literally, experts have been saying that a pandemic was coming for ages. So the fact that that governments did have pandemic committees or something, because they had one in the US, but then Trump's government disbanded it. So they do know about that it was an issue, and there was some level of plans, but there wasn't enough preparation for it. People weren't doing the testing or following the WHO. The World Health Organization's methods. I mean, New Zealand did pretty much instantly followed the orders of the WHO, did a massive amount of testing, and put in social distancing pretty closely. And they've had such a low rate of I think they've only had like one fatality or something like that.
Wow.
And yeah, they're just getting better. They're having more recovered. And there was an Australian women's magazine which was talking about how the Prime Minister of New Zealand, like Ardern, was literally doing the best, was literally following all the leadership manuals, and then all these other white guy presidents and prime ministers and all these other, various Western countries were not doing at all.
Well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that most of the world's response to this has been woefully inadequate.
Yeah.
But if I take the UK as an example, the fact that they are just focusing on all the numbers and statistics, they're focused on like the worst cases. They're focused on the people who are in hospital, the people who are dying, things like that. And it's not taking into account that this is a very, not virulent, infectious virus. It spreads really quickly. That's why it's so dangerous. It spreads like at twice the rate like a flu does. And so there's no effort to like track where the virus is coming from, track who might have it, contain them. There's no effort to like contain the virus. It's still just let it spread, but let it spread more slowly. And I do not think that is the reaction you want, because at the moment, just letting it spread, even if it is slower, as soon as death rates drop off, but as soon as you let someone out, we let people out of lockdown, the virus is just going to flare up again from anyone who does have it. And so you're just going to have this cycle of cool down and reinfection and cool down and reinfection until someone manages to develop a proper vaccine and actually distribute it. And then we've got to, actually get the vaccine to everyone who needs to be vaccinated. And I think it's a flawed plan of, we're just going to respond, instead of just responding to the virus and the pandemic as numbers rise and as issues occur. I think there should be more preemptive action to track the disease, track who has it, and actually make efforts to contain it properly.
Yeah, so Israel is doing that by tracking their citizens' phones, and they find out who has COVID-19, and then they use their phone and they see whoever, and they track which phones it's come in contact with within a certain range, within a certain amount of time, and then it sends you a text and says that you've come in contact, and they ask you to self-isolate just through a text. And then they're also asking you to, take photos of yourself on demand to prove that you're actually in self-isolation. So there are the ways, the preemptive and proactive measures to go about it are getting more on like the scarier Black Mirror side of things, where you have full state monitoring. But what's interesting, I was talking about it with my sister and my parents, and my parents had a more scared view of it, whereas me and my sister were more of accepting of it, I think because we grew up on the internet and just knew that everything was available to hackers or government organizations. They really wanted it.
If people really want to, it's not really a lot you can do to stop them finding out your information.
Yeah, exactly. But I think if you grew up where you didn't have that level of intrusion on your privacy, it seems a lot more scary. But it is the idea that, the government knows exactly who has COVID-19, and that if you pass them in your phones, know that you are suddenly, has to follow orders in that way. A little bit on the scary.
I think that if that resource is there, maybe it should be used by governments who are kind of responsible for our safety, for the sake of our own safety, public health.
Right. Well, I think that's all we've got time for. Thank you guys so much for your insight. It's been really fun talking to you. Thank you to all of you so much for listening. Thank you to Simran and Alona for joining me. Go to our website, giftedyounggeneration.co.uk for more videos, and hope to see you on the next one. Thank you guys. Bye.
Bye.